I already knew I'd failed the interview the moment I saw the look on her face. It was that polite smile that doesn't reach the eyes. The kind that says, "Thank you for your time, but we'll be calling someone else." As I stood up, straightened my worn jacket, and picked up the folder with my resume, I felt that familiar weight settle in my chest, the weight of being a single dad who keeps trying and keeps coming up short. My name is Aaron Cole. I'm 36, and my wife passed away 5 years ago. Every decision I make is for my 8-year-old son, Noah, who thinks his dad can fix anything, even when the truth is I'm barely holding things together. So when the HR manager said they'd be in touch, I just nodded and walked out of the glass building, knowing they wouldn't be calling. I'd stumbled on a question about leadership. My shoes were scuffed, and men like me just don't belong in buildings like that. As the elevator doors closed, I exhaled, telling myself it was fine, that I'd find something else. Primera, outweighs. But the rent was late, and Noah's school had sent another reminder about the field trip I couldn't afford. When I stepped outside into the cold air, I didn't look back. I just started walking toward the bus stop, rehearsing how I'd explain another no to my son without breaking his heart. But then I heard heels on the pavement behind me, fast and urgent, and someone calling out, "Sir, wait." I kept walking at first. No one ever runs after you with good news when you're a man like me. But the voice got closer, breathless, now. When I finally turned, there she was, not the HR manager, but the CEO herself. The billionaire everyone in the city knew by name. She was standing there with no assistants, just an intensity in her eyes. As she said my name like it mattered, I froze, confused and embarrassed, wondering what I'd done wrong. She said, "You failed the interview on paper, but you passed it in a way no one else did." Before I could respond, she told me she'd been watching through the glass. She saw how I answered questions honestly instead of perfectly. How I talked about responsibility like something you carry, not something you brag about. How I admitted you don't always know the right answer, but you show up anyway. She asked, "Do you know why I built this company?" Without waiting, she said it was because she was raised by a father who walked away from jobs just like I had, defeated but still standing. She said every executive in that room had a perfect resume, but none of them had the look I had when I stood up to leave, the look of someone who couldn't afford to quit but still refused to lie. As people started staring, she lowered her voice and said, "If I let you walk away, I'd be hiring the wrong kind of people." My throat tightened. No one in a long time had seen me like that, not as a Reese, but as someone worth stopping for. She told me the job wasn't glamorous or easy, but it came with stability, growth, and respect. Then she asked one simple question that mattered more than all the others. "Can you start Monday?" I didn't answer right away. All I could think about was Noah eating cereal for dinner, asking if everything would be okay. I finally nodded, barely trusting my voice. She smiled, not the polite one from the interview room, but a real one, the kind that changes the direction of your life. As she walked back inside, leaving me with my hands shaking, I realized something. Sometimes failing isn't the end of the story. It's the moment that proves who you are. That night, when I told Noah I got the job, he hugged me like I'd saved the world. Months later, sitting in that building with a badge around my neck and a paycheck that meant we could breathe again, I thought about how close I'd come to walking away forever. I realized not every miracle looks like success at first. Sometimes it looks like rejection, followed by footsteps running after you when you least expect it. But the job didn't fix everything overnight. Anyone who says it does has never lived paycheck to paycheck. The first week I walked into that building with my new badge, I felt every eye on me, the quiet judgment of people who'd never had to choose between gas money and groceries. I kept my head down, worked harder than I ever had, and learned systems at night after Noah fell asleep. I told myself that if I was given this chance, I wouldn't waste it. What no one warned me about was how uncomfortable honesty can be in rooms built on perfection. During a leadership meeting 2 months in, a project everyone loved was quietly failing. I spoke up, my voice shaking, as I said the numbers didn't add up and the people on the ground were burning out. The room went silent, not angry, just cold. Later that day, my manager pulled me aside and said I'd embarrass people who don't like being challenged by someone who just got lucky. For the first time since the CEO ran after me, I wondered if she'd made a mistake. If I'd made one, too. That evening, I was asked to go to the executive floor, my stomach twisting the whole elevator ride up. I found the CEO standing by the window, looking tired and real. I started apologizing before she could even speak, but she stopped me. "If you ever stop telling the truth to survive here," she said, "you won't belong anymore." She told me the project would be paused, that she'd check the data herself, and that the company didn't need quieter people, it needed braver ones. But courage has consequences. Word spread fast. Alliances shifted, and the same people who once ignored me now watched me closely, waiting for me to fail. Then one morning, I got a call from Noah's school. He'd been in an accident on the playground, not serious, but scared. As I rushed out without thinking, I realized how fragile everything still was, how one misstep could cost me the job that finally gave us air. When I returned later that day, expecting questions or punishment, I found an email waiting for me instead. It was short and simple, from the CEO herself. It just said, "Family first." Always in that moment, I understood this wasn't just a job I'd been given. It was a standard I was expected to protect. Success built without humanity eventually collapses. As I sat at Noah's bedside that night, holding his hand while he slept, I knew the real test hadn't been the interview I failed. It was whether I'd stay the same man after someone finally opened the door. The real ending didn't come with applause or a promotion. It came quietly. A year later, on an ordinary afternoon, I was packing my bag to leave on time, something I never did before. Noah had a school presentation, and I'd promised I'd be there. As I shut down my computer, the same executive who once warned me about speaking up stopped by my desk. It just nodded, not with approval or resentment, but with acceptance. I realized then how much had changed without anyone making a speech about it. The project I'd questioned had been rebuilt the right way. Turnover was down. People talked more honestly in meetings. The company wasn't perfect, but it was more human. A few weeks after that, the CEO called me into her office again, not to offer a title or a raise, but to ask me to help design a mentorship program for people who didn't interview well but worked with their whole hearts. People like me. As I walked out carrying that responsibility, I thought back to the day I failed the interview and almost disappeared into the crowd. That night, when Noah stood on stage, searching the audience, until his eyes found mine, and he smiled like he always believed I'd show up, I understood what the story was really about. It wasn't about a billionaire running after a man who failed. It was about a father learning that his quiet persistence mattered, that integrity leaves a trail even when no one claps, and that sometimes the biggest success isn't the job you get or the money you earn. It is being able to look your child in the eyes and know you never had to become someone else to give them a future. Thanks for listening. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more.